Imagine kissing your family goodbye, believing you'd return home a hero. Instead, you become one of history's greatest mysteries. 5,000 Roman soldiers, among the most feared warriors on earth, marched beneath the banner of the Roman Empire. Then, they disappeared. No final battle, no bodies, no survivors. Nearly 2,000 years later, historians are still searching for one answer. How does an entire Roman legion simply vanish? Our investigation begins nearly 2,000 years ago, at the height of the Roman Empire. An empire that stretched across 3 continents, commanded millions, and possessed the most powerful army the ancient world had ever seen. Among its elite fighting forces was one legion feared above almost all others, the 9th Legion. Then, without warning, it vanished from history. Our mission is simple: to examine every piece of evidence and answer one question: what really happened to Rome's lost 9th Legion? Before we can understand how the 9th Legion disappeared, we first have to understand who they were. Known officially as Legio IX Hispana, the 9th Legion had already earned its reputation long before the mystery began. For decades, they fought in some of Rome's most brutal campaigns, marching thousands of miles across Europe, crushing rebellions, expanding the empire one battlefield at a time. These weren't inexperienced recruits. They were hardened veterans, survivors of wars that had shaped the Roman Empire itself. Which raises an even bigger question. If soldiers like these could disappear, what could possibly have defeated them? Every investigation has one crucial piece of information: the last confirmed sighting. For the 9th Legion, that trail leads to Roman Britain, around the beginning of the 2nd century. Historical records and inscriptions place Legio IX Hispana at the fortress of Eboracum, today's city of York, England. There, the legion helped defend Rome's northern frontier, standing between the empire and the fierce tribes beyond. Then, the trail begins to fade. After this point, the historical record grows strangely quiet. Official military documents stop mentioning the 9th Legion. No triumphant victories, no reports of transfer, no record of disbandment. It is as if one of Rome's greatest fighting forces simply vanished. From this moment onward, every clue becomes evidence, and every silence becomes part of the mystery. Every investigation depends on evidence, not rumors, not legends. Facts. The strongest piece of evidence comes from archaeology itself. In the ancient city of York, archaeologists uncovered inscriptions confirming that the 9th Legion was once stationed there. But after the early 2nd century, the evidence changes. The inscriptions stop. The military records fall silent. No official document clearly explains where the legion went next. Curiously, later Roman records mention other legions replacing the 9th in Britain, yet they never explain what happened to the soldiers they replaced. This absence is what makes the case so extraordinary. History rarely preserves every answer, but it almost always leaves a trail. Here, the trail simply ends. With the evidence laid out, investigators are left with one unavoidable question. What actually happened to the 9th Legion? Over the centuries, historians have proposed several competing theories. Some believe the legion was completely destroyed during a catastrophic uprising in northern Britain, overwhelmed by tribes beyond Rome's frontier. Others argue the Ninth never disappeared in Britain at all, claiming it was quietly transferred to another province of the empire. A third theory suggests the legion may have marched east, where it was eventually destroyed in a distant campaign against one of Rome's powerful enemies. Each theory explains part of the mystery, but none explains all of the evidence. And that is exactly why the case remains open. When investigators compare every surviving record, every inscription, and every archaeological discovery, one conclusion becomes clear. None of the theories can be proven with complete certainty. The idea that the Ninth Legion was wiped out in Britain is dramatic, but the archaeological evidence remains incomplete. The theory that the Legion was transferred elsewhere in the empire explains why the records disappear from Britain, yet no surviving document confirms where they went. And while an Eastern campaign is certainly possible, the historical evidence is simply too limited to prove it. In the end, historians are left with probabilities, not certainty. The fate of the Ninth Legion remains one of history's greatest unanswered questions, not because there are no theories, but because none of them explain every piece of the evidence. Some mysteries survive because the evidence was destroyed. Others survive because history simply stopped recording the truth. The lost Ninth Legion belongs somewhere between the two. Thousands of Roman soldiers entered history, yet their final fate remains hidden behind silence, missing records, and unanswered questions. Perhaps one day, a forgotten inscription, an undiscovered battlefield, or a buried Roman archive will reveal what really happened. Until then, the fate of Legio IX Hispana remains officially unsolved. Case file 001 closed. Subscribe to Ancient Ledger for more ancient stories.